I'm back. After a little hiatus, On Brand, On Purpose returns with something new, my first in-person conversation. My guest, CY, and I talk reinvention, visibility, career pivots, and what happens when your personal brand starts to outgrow the title on your resume. It's thoughtful, candid, and yes, we might take a few tangents. So let's get into it. I am so excited to have my next guest in the On Brand, On Purpose podcast. My next guest goes by the name CY, or what else do you go by?
My government name is Christiane Ebra, which is hard for people. Do people butcher your name?
No.
Really? There's no variations?
I get called Clarice.
Clarice?
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, where did the L come from?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's transition. So, CY, I was going to introduce you like I typically do my guests, but I didn't know how.
And that's totally fair.
So can you introduce yourself? The reason why, because this is important, it's not that I didn't do my research. I know who you are. However, you are multi-hyphenate. There's a lot of things that you do. And so in the spirit of personal branding, I would love for us to unpack everything about you.
Sure. Should I do my general intro of like how I would introduce myself?
Absolutely.
If I ran into you.
Yes.
At the grocery store and you're like, hey, what do you do?
I don't know if I would do that in a grocery store, but maybe a networking event.
I treat really everything like a networking event, which is maybe my toxic trait where I'm like, hi, what do you do? And I'm in line. They're like, ma'am, we're trying to get my groceries at Whole Foods. But if we were at a networking event or meeting at a photo shoot, I would tell you, hi, I'm CY. I have worked in sports for the last 5 years, but before that, I have built and sold companies in healthcare and technology. I had a social networking platform and a very large networking organization, which really rooted me in how to connect people and then people to products and fell in love with the marketing components of all of that, even though I have a clinical background. But the last 5 years in sports has just taught me, one, I'm a sports fan, but I'm obsessed with the industry, the growth, the tech around it, the numbers, the business and the money that flows through sports. And so now I position myself as a brand and marketing expert specific to sports, tech, and fan engagement.
That was a great one. Try that last line again. Because that was great, actually.
Is it? Is it a good explanation?
The last line.
Everything else, you're like, please. I don't have time. I am a sports marketing and brand expert focused on sports tech and fan engagement.
That's amazing. What I love about everything you said is that you have clearly demonstrated a curiosity into going in a lot of different fields. And I'm very similar as far as my background. Let's go back to when you were younger for a second, because I really want to unearth like that curiosity. Where did that start?
I come from a military background, and one of my gifts is my gift of yap, which is why we're here today. I've been forced to be like dropped into countries, new cities, new schools. And I think a lack of curiosity would have led me to be really kind of bored or maybe even overwhelmed by those. Like I had to really invest in making new friends. So I want to know who you are, what you're about. I want to know about your family. Where have you lived? In the military, it's very common to be like, where were you born? But give me the work backwards, because then it gives you an idea of who someone is. To be honest, when I was younger, I didn't have an interest in business at all. Like my parents are teachers, military. There really isn't anybody in even my extended family for years that didn't own anything. Even the idea of being a doctor was a very big thing to my family. There were, again, a lot of teachers, a lot of military, and I really didn't have that business curiosity, but I've always loved people. And I think the military background helped that. I think I resented it at the time, but I look back now, I'm like, wait, there's a reason why I can jump into different situations and scenarios and vibe well with people. So I think it was really more around the personal connection to people than it was around business or really any one topic. I don't think I ever had like a thing I was latched onto as a kid. I couldn't. Would pick up anything I liked was like, okay, thank you so much. We're going to move in 6 months, you know? So I wasn't really able to root myself in any one interest or even a friend group. I had to be really flexible.
Sounds like you potentially had to reinvent yourself.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. There was a time where I went to 6 schools in 6 years. Wow. And like that for a young person in general, or honestly, even now I think about that now, I'm like, I don't even know how I did that. A little bit of reinvention, but you had to also have some core principles and elements of yourself that didn't change.
But I love how we're able to name that now as far as reinvention, because whether it's military, I would say I had to reinvent myself just from moving from different networks. You had to reinvent yourself, but there were some things that were true along the way, which is your family. So how would they label you?
Well, how deep would we go? It's really funny. I have a really unique relationship with all of my family. What's really interesting is I have a little brother who's much younger than I am. And that actually forced me to take on a lot more of a motherly role pretty young, like at 12. It really shifted my identity in that way. Like as a middle schooler, I'm like helping my mom with a newborn, you know, and that really changed my approach to school. And I think that they've always identified a sense of independence from me. People would be surprised to know I'm very much an introvert.
Yeah.
And I very much appreciate my quiet time. And it's funny, when my sister got married, you know, when you are on a wedding website and it shows all the bridesmaids and there's a little bio, like how they know each other. And for the first time ever, she described me as really kind and calm and quiet. That's actually the first time I'd ever seen her write out her feelings on who I was to her. And my mom the same way. She's always recognized my independence. I'm the oldest, so I've had a lot of responsibilities and I've had to pave the path. I think we all were rooted in that military piece. But I think now as we're older and adults and realizing like how hard it is to pick up and move, we have a deeper appreciation.
With everything that has changed, what has stayed constant?
I think there's a couple of buckets. When I would be on a podcast where people would say, what led you to science? Because my undergrad was in science. I was dead set on medical school. I was like 100% sure. Medical school, I'm going to be a doctor. I loved ER and trauma. I'm going to do that. And my love for science came from the fact that there are constants in science. No matter where on the world you are, the speed of sound and light are the same. You could be in Germany or you could be in Arizona. There's things that just don't change no matter where you are. And I thought, what are those things for me? And for me, it is that curiosity, and that can be applied towards education or business, new industries. I think it's my constant battle of like, should I go into the theater, the arts? And I'm like, no, I don't have any business doing that, but there's things that catch my attention. So that curiosity always drew through. And then I think one thing that never goes out of style, never stops being valuable, is kindness to people and the emotional intelligence. And I think the military piece backed that up. I think my family and our history back that up. But I think I've just remained really true to that, is really trying to understand and work with people and vibe with people in a way that maybe they don't get that same connection. There's a level of depth to that I think people are afraid of recently. I feel like there's a lot of like, you call someone or you walk into somebody and you say, how are you? And they say the good in you. That's my least favorite, is the good in you.
Yeah.
It doesn't even give me a second to like really understand, are you good? I want to know how you are doing, because then I can kind of move and adapt to who you are. And I think that's another piece, is the ability to adapt to others.
To your point, I wish more people actually gave 2 more sentences after that.
Yeah.
So that I can be a better person for you, whether in that particular moment to network with you, to be a friend to you, even my kids. So I have to pry sometimes, but I actually get why people do it too. So we spent a little bit of time in your background. We'll fast forward quite a bit into your current title, which you're going to have to tell me again, because
who even knows? I'm in a rebranding phase. This is a really good time.
This is why you're here. Is literally this conversation. Like, we're being funny, but we're also being serious in the sense of, is a rebranding transitional phase for you? And transitional, oftentimes I use it in a sense of maybe there's some like force, whether it is unemployment or health or relationship, something that makes you pivot. Or maybe you tell me, why would you call it a transitional period?
For a little while, I went through a mourning process before all of this, where I had identified so closely with a brand that I worked with for, which for me is a lifetime in startups, which is almost 4 years. Previously, I join a company, we build it up, we sell it, I'm on to the next thing. And I was doing that at a really interesting pace of like 18 to 24 months. So being somewhere double that, I felt so connected to the brand, and I wasn't a founder, but I took on a founder-like approach because I cared so much about the outcomes, and I cared so much about the team and so much about what we were doing. So to close that was my last full-time W-2 position. And the first time that I said, I'm not going to jump into my next full-time thing. I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to sit and think about what I want to do, because whatever I'm going to do next is going to be big for me. And I knew I needed to give myself a little bit of that time. Now I have a mortgage, so I can't take up too much time, right? I've got stuff to pay for and responsibilities, but the mourning process was, I just, again, rooted myself so much into a role and a company and in a category that I helped create for the sports betting industry. The brand, the look and feel, how we talked about it, was something I felt very responsible for. And so to leave that and go 100% on my own, terrifying. A little bit of sadness, like, well, I thought there'd be an outcome that was different. I thought we'd have an exit sooner. I thought there was maybe more of a trajectory there for me. But when you're the CMO, where else do you go? There wasn't actually anywhere else for me to grow. And so I knew there was so much for me to have to close a chapter of a book and move on to the next thing. And so this rebrand has been, or this, reintroduction of myself to the market on my own and not overly aligned with any one company has been a transition. Because when I left that last company, people thought it was closing. I got more messages saying, oh no, are they shutting down? And I said, no, I'm just leaving. Because I talked about it so much. And again, like I cared about it so much. And my like goodbye post was very emotional. Like I had to do some of that soul searching. And like to anybody who's watching who leaves that and has that like kind of panic moment, I started applying for jobs I had no business applying for that I never had interested in even participating in because I panicked for a second. I thought I need income. I had shut down, slowed down my side businesses that really afforded me the opportunity to take risks on startup. I'd really phased those out to focus so much on the sports betting company.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, now I don't have those extra forms of income, which floated me for years. And I've got to get really serious. Do I need to go work at one of the big guys? But I don't actually feel like I'd fit in those organizations because I've been so entrepreneurial. I have that mindset, a very startup mode, very scrappy. Like I like to make decisions. And when I helped sell my first company, we were a startup with less than 10 people. We launched in March of 2015 and we sold to Children's Health, a legacy 100-year-old healthcare system, by December of 2015. So I had the experience even in that short amount of time. And I was like, I just don't think I fit in on that side. So I'm going to continue to pursue, again, roles that give me literal and figurative equity in decision making because that's what I've loved about startups. And I wanted to do that in sports. So now I've got a whole slew of brands that rely on me for very similar things that I did with that company. Like the things I did really well and loved to do, I now get to do for a lot of different brands. And I would love your take on this is I think I've reached a point where I don't want to do stuff that I'm good at, but don't like to do.
I mean, that's an aspiration, hopefully for everybody, by the way. I think the best ways to arrive there are, quite frankly, to have a level of independence and agency over yourself, right? Mm-hmm. But you said so much, and you saw me taking notes here because we're about to do some deep dives to see why. As you talked about this alignment with your company, and I've known you since then, a part of me wonders, like, would you do any of that different? Because I actually hate to hear that.
Yeah.
My philosophy when it comes to personal branding is you are centering yourself versus a company. When we attach ourselves to something that isn't ours. I don't want anyone to feel that sense of mourning. I don't want anyone to feel that sense of like pain or that sense of like, am I good enough? You didn't say all of that, but that's what a lot of people do when they attach themselves to their employer. It's like any piece of feedback or any, decline in sales, et cetera, right? It's like, I am horrible. And I don't think that's what we're here for. But I guess the point is like you had an attachment. People saw you aligned with that business and you took some time. Well, actually you went into reactive mode, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that reactive mode was maybe a sense of validation of like, all right, I can get another job. I can. Yeah. Right? Like,
I don't need them.
Yeah.
I got this.
Right? So it's a sense of just like habit of like, let me go get someone to like tell me I'm good.
Yeah.
I also hear money too was a driver.
I would say mostly that. But I think that the process of even putting myself out there, again, which I had gone from different roles so quickly that I never really had that buffer time frame. I never wanted to have the open to work. I wanted it to appear that I'm just in high demand. I'm just getting picked up left and right, and which I did. Like that was the case. But in this time period is the first time I didn't have something automatically lined up. I think I'd probably, if anything, would have gone even harder for myself outside of that brand. Every opportunity I have now is because I spent 4 years making sure that if you were working in sports betting or live data or fan engagement or media, you knew who I was. I'll give you a quick pathway. I was an ER scribe not that long ago. And then very quickly after that, sold a company, had an exit with another med tech startup, and then literally overnight became the CEO of a dating app. Again, not related to sports.
Dating app is not tied to betting and sports.
Had nothing to do with sports.
Dating is a bet.
Dating is a gamble. You're so right. But that investor though was like, hey, the only thing you talk about more than this company is how much you love sports. I'm about to start a sports brand. Do you want to come work with me?
Gotcha.
And I said, look, like I don't have connections. The way I can call anyone in Dallas and get what I need, I don't have that in sports. Is that going to hurt me? And he goes, no, we're about to do this huge partnership or this program with Comcast. I can't even handle the amount of introductions we're getting, but you're good with these brands. You know sports in a way that we don't. We're the tech side. We want you to come in and build these partnerships. So it wasn't dependent upon my network. It was maximizing the network that was being put in front of us. And I said, the only way that anyone's going to take me seriously is if they also recognize me as a leader in sports business. What I did for 4 years was I leaned in pretty far. I think if I'd change anything, it's not really the outcome of all of that work. It's that I would have started that sooner because that personal brand was so relevant to what I would do after that. And I think that's truly one of my best recommendations for anybody is no matter what industry you're in, if you're interested in being in another industry, is like, don't hesitate to start planting seeds and positioning. Not that you need to go be a billboard for whatever industry you're hoping to jump into, but I did that with sport.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that's exactly what I assumed you were going to say, actually, which is like start and prepare yourself to the CY brand, which you're now, I wouldn't even say you're building, because I think that's the biggest misbelief or misconception some of my guests have. Is that they don't have a personal brand, and you've been building that brand. And I wish more people took the time to do that, because you get back to having that agency and that courage, quite frankly. I want to go to something, and this is what you and I have been talking about offline, which we're going to bring online, LinkedIn. So just for context, I was one of the first people on LinkedIn. Ever. Of all time?
She was user number 2.
The short answer is yes. It was right around the time that I was starting my MBA. So around 2006.
Nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an early adopter. They probably had a beta or something. But my point is,
I would say that. I would say early adopter.
So literally for 20 years building my LinkedIn, which is wild to say that, by the way. Jesus.
You started when you were 2.
I know, yeah. And I've seen it evolve, is my point. You slid it in there because you talked about open to work and how that had a stigma for you at a time. What are your thoughts on that now?
It's so different, because if I see someone else's, I immediately start thinking, how can I help this person and or can I hire them? I love to see it, actually. I think it was just for me at the time. I'd never put that, oh, I'm single out there, you know, and then I'm single and looking. Like that's how it felt. I felt very exposed in that way. Like I didn't have it all figured out. But now being in a position to hire people, when I see that, I'm immediately not thinking about they're not qualified. That's why they're here and why their LinkedIn photo is green or whatever it is. No, actually my mindset totally shifts and I'm like, how can I help you? It's instead of saying good in you, it's saying not good, want something more. And I'm suddenly now adapting to what it is that they need from me. And it's totally different. And
that's not just you, by the way. I'm not going to pick on you, because I think a lot of folks, including myself, have had that stigma, because back then it was a stigma to say that you were unemployed. Right. It was an assumption there was something wrong with you. And so I'm actually glad that more people are having that courage to say, one, I'm out here looking. More often than not, it's not because they are a crappy person. It's because the economy, right? Or the consolidation of certain industries, et cetera. And so I actually love, to your point, seeing people have that courage. But I know for anyone that is listening or watching, it takes courage to even put that up there. But what you and I chatted about was how people could be using LinkedIn for their personal brand. So how are you leveraging it?
First of all, I'm so jealous that you were early on LinkedIn. I didn't know even in college, they were like, make a LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, we'll do that. But at the time, like in healthcare, if you're going to go become a medical provider, it was like, you just need to do really well on your scores. You need to get into the right schools. They're not checking your LinkedIn. They wanted you to be out volunteering, not posting. So like, that wasn't even on my radar. But over the years, I realized it was a megaphone for me professionally. And the only reason today that I'm sitting here with you, I could largely connect back to a single comment on LinkedIn that came from somebody who knew not really exactly what I did per se, what my skills were, but he knew what I was about and what I championed. There was a post for the dating app that I ended up working with that said, we're looking for a very cool powerhouse female CEO. There was this post that was basically asking for a Whitney Wolf-like figure to come jump into this brand and give it a different flavor and a different approach and leadership, of course. And a guy that I worked with very briefly at Red Bull, not even worked directly with, but just had exposure to, he knew what I was about. He knew that I was a champion for like creating good experiences, connecting people. I had a networking, organization at the time. I was primetime demographic for all of my friends who were in that dating, and he knew that I was a champion for women and safety and connection and authenticity. And so he comments my name on that post. And that had such an impact on everything I've done ever since. It led me to sports. And it's because I took all of the things I cared about, I mapped them to what I enjoyed and what I was looking for professionally, but I just started to chime in. And I think that's to the point of what could people be doing now is chiming in. I don't work for Formula One, but when someone goes to a Formula One race, they want to call and tell me because I'm nonstop chiming in on what's happening in Formula One. On Instagram, I'm talking about how shocked I am by Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian hanging out so much. My LinkedIn side is, hey, Gucci just bought the rights for the Alpine team in 2027, a fashion brand taking over a Formula One team. What does that mean money-wise? What does that mean for media deals, sponsorships, and these drivers? That's what I'm talking about. For years, I've been positioning myself as not even an expert, but someone who's thoughtful about that category. And so I've done that for sports for years. And I think the reason why I've been able to pivot into new industries or be able to call someone who's on the global sports, events and global events like the Olympics and the World Cup is because I've built a credibility using LinkedIn in a way that I won't brush shoulders with those people at an event in Dallas. And frankly, when I was with the sports betting company, it's not legal to bet here in Texas. So me having connections at the Dallas Stars, and let's just even say like there's a trading card companies or Fanatics has a presence here. Like me knowing those people did nothing for me on that scale. I needed to be known and trusted globally. That brand needed to be known and trusted globally. How did I do that? LinkedIn. And that was a way to build credibility and reach in a way.
So what I hear, and for those that are listening who are scared of LinkedIn, and I say scared because I think that's they want.
Y'all should be scared of TikTok, but don't be scared of LinkedIn.
And I think it's the vulnerability, right? It's scared of just being vulnerable. But someone shared a post with me the other day around like, Cherice, we want to hear more of you because there's a lot of frauds out there. There are people with less experience who got a lot to say on the topic. You have X, Y, and Z, right? And I don't think it's wrong for anyone. To your point, just start talking about something. But there's a lot of people who are highly skilled, have very strong opinions who don't talk about certain things. And that's for various reasons, but I'm one of them. And so they kind of push me to like, girl, say your point of view. We want to hear it, actually.
We do. The people have spoken.
But I think that's the key there is to have a point of view. Be curious, engage with people on LinkedIn. And I would say on topics like sports, right? Or even my world and culture, there's not a wrong point of view. So you don't have to be scared per se. It's a perception. You have a perspective, you have an exposure point, and I think that's what enables engagement. And everyone agreed on the same things. It would not be a fun platform.
Boring.
So I think that's what we need to do is just day by day, just go in and, let me comment and walk away. Slam your laptop, throw your phone, but just comment. And you'd be surprised to your point of how your consistency will enable you to be seen.
Yeah, I think that I've seen you on many panels and I've seen you on many podcasts and things, but one of my favorite things that you do on panels, which I think is what I hope people take to LinkedIn as an example, is around having a point of view. One of my biggest pet peeves in a live or an event setting, virtual or not, whatever it is when someone just piggybacks on someone. When someone's like, I'm just going to piggyback on what you said.
Piggyback.
And we're just doing a circle of agreeing with each other. I'm a big champion for diversity in business. I come from tech and sports, which is male dominated and lacks a lot of diversity in many ways. But one component of diversity that I'm like really passionate about is I don't just want the C-suite on the panels. I want to have a mix and match of people who are hands-on. I don't want to hear from the CTO of insert sports betting platform. I want to hear about the product manager who's fielding all of the issues that come in. I want to hear from them. And you've always been so thoughtful in your responses on panels where I always appreciate that you take a beat and then you give a nugget that's so powerful and you're not just echoing what someone else has to say. And I'm like LinkedIn, I think that's a whole thing too, is everyone's just thumbs upping and congratulating on your job announcement. And it's like, but I want to see more about how you feel about an announcement. I want to see how it impacts
I can thumbs down your post on LinkedIn today.
Don't do that. Actually, guys, I've followed her for so long, but today we just realized how embarrassing of us. We spent more time together offline that we're not actually connected on LinkedIn.
Okay, this is a good commercial break because how did we meet?
I got a lovely call and invite to be on a magazine cover. And lo and behold, I show up and there's this glam goddess who I've not ever got to meet in person.
You're lying, actually. You're actually lying on everything you just said. Because we met on a panel. It was a summit. You were moderating. And I think that's what makes this fun.
But that's what I'm referencing is you did that on the panel. You were like so thoughtful with your response.
Yes.
I said, everything she said, I'm moderating, but I'm like wanting to write your notes.
Right?
Yeah, do.
Great.
And I'm like, everything she's saying is so good.
Commercial break over.
It's all coming back to me now. That was before the cover shoot. So the cover shoot, when I got to see you, I was like, oh my God.
Yes. So tangents galore here. Shout out to Cosign Studios and KG. Yeah. So we were on a panel, which you moderated. And clearly I was very clearly I was memorable. And then
So memorable.
hey, you didn't remember me. Okay, it's okay.
Oh my God.
I didn't piggyback then. And
No.
then we were on a magazine, which I actually have.
Stop.
Yeah. Let's look at.
I think I had you sign mine. Mine's framed. I look like I'm about to sell you some very expensive Southern California real estate. And you look like you're about to take over the world. And I'm just happy to be there.
I might. It's not
Veronica
too late.
too. She's so sassy.
Yes. Shout out to Veronica. Yes, we were 24 women to watch in 2024.
Wow.
And look at you guys watching us right now.
We were being watched.
We're being watched. But I don't know where to go back to the conversation. Yeah.
Panels, not piggybacking.
Yeah. But back to LinkedIn. And again, my intention to talk to you, of course, but to help give people guidance, right? And I think this is such a critical time with LinkedIn. The meme we were joking about was LinkedIn should change its name to Let Go, which is funny, but it's also like, yeah, because I actually, again, deep empathy. And I have many friends and colleagues who are impacted, who are open to work, by the way. And so my hope is that people hear this conversation, hear from a woman who has, went from a very interesting, eclectic background, who, gone through mourning, if you will, with corporation, but leveraging your personal brand to really step into your power. Yeah. We've talked about there's misconceptions that people have, that what you see in front of you is just, it's just there. There was no hard work. There wasn't strategy. There wasn't thoughtfulness. And for me in particular, it took a lot of that at an early age to be thoughtful and mindful, to be courageous, to be curious. I didn't call it personal branding back then, but for me, it was like I have levels of curiosity and X, Y, and Z. In fact, if you would have asked me around the ages of 16 to 18, what I wanted to be, I would have told you an entertainment lawyer.
I can see that.
An FBI agent.
I can also see that.
And Janet Jackson backup dancer.
I think those are all.
Like, it wasn't like, 1 year. It was like all of those.
On my off nights from dancing with Janet, I'm solving crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched X-Files as a kid, and I watched, music videos. But the point is, I had a lot of curiosity, and that enabled me to get a breadth of exposure points. Yeah. So what you see today is that curation of curiosity, curation of like intaking a lot of different things. And so when people see me here, there, and everywhere right now, it's like my personal brand. I built that, right? And that personal brand is someone who is in a lot of different things. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. So I think that I want people to just have that level of curiosity. I encourage people to have hobbies and interests and just talk to random people on LinkedIn.
It's a personal passion of mine. If you're in a position, which many of you are, where you don't really feel comfortable because of whoever your employer is, whoever your boss is, maybe even your manager, made it a point that you can't have a voice on LinkedIn or you can't use your social media channels, that doesn't keep you from logging on and seeing what other people are talking about to keep a pulse on what the industry is.
I'm sorry. No company should be telling you what to do on your channels, period.
It's fair, but it happens.
Yeah. Anyways.
I don't believe that it is correct.
And fair. So if there's a level of fear of having a point of view, you can at minimum still engage, is what you're trying to say. I still
see it as a tool to pay attention to what the market is saying about maybe the industry you want to move into. I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. I really don't. But I do know that I want to own part of a team. What do I need to do to be a really solid team owner? I go look at what someone else has done and their trajectory and what roles they have. Maybe it doesn't map exactly to what I'm doing, but I can see a pathway and make it make sense to me and more relevant to me. But you need to own a team. You need to be a high net worth individual, and you need to know how a team works if you want to do it well. Yeah. Well, I'm learning how industries work. I've been learning venue operations. I've been learning health and recovery for players. How are people investing? I'm understanding media rights. There's 2 companies in the world that essentially own every piece of sports data you see, and you've never heard of them. I'm learning how data flows and the business of sports because I want to be able to make really educated decisions on that as a team owner. Yeah. Will I make it there? We'll see.
You will.
But I want to have all of those skills underneath, in my library of resources I have, because I don't come from a family who could support that. And so all of that has come from the relentless curiosity of these industries, reaching out, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to send the connection request, knowing they could ignore it or they could respond. Yep. And really every company I've worked with in the last 10 years has largely been tracked back to a post, an event, an experience that I hosted or promoted or talked about on LinkedIn.
So I think we should get paid for this episode.
LinkedIn, if you're
you are
watching, I'm going to need a free premium account because I talk too much about LinkedIn to be paying for LinkedIn.
All right, we have spent a lot of time talking about CY. So now here's the test. How would you describe yourself in 3 words? What is your personal brand in 3 words? I hope you thought about this.
I did, but you made a very good point that people change their answer as they're talking to you.
You know why they change? Because I'm good.
I'm
good.
Made that point. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change mine because I know who I am.
You might. Let's go.
My personal brand in 3 words: a connector, a champion. You look scared. Don't be scared.
No. Go. Do
you have thoughts? Do you have notes?
Please go.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared.
Well, you looked at me like maybe you liked it or you didn't like it.
I will tell you why if you just go.
Okay. What did I say so far?
Connector, champion,
and a fan.
I'm gonna tell you why I just did that, because you were so there. You had 2 C's. If you watch my podcast, I am a fan of alliteration
and Christiana.
It was just like right there.
Damn.
Okay, connector, champion, and fan. I like that a lot, though. I do.
I'm a people connector. In marketing, I connect people to products. A part of my career, I connected people to people with my dating app and networking. So I feel very like that's been a key part of my journey. I'm a champion for causes, and that can be within an industry as well. I'm a huge champion for women in the workplace, diversity in the workplace, fairness in the workplace, equal pay in the workplace. And then the reason why I say fan is that I really do see myself long-term having a deep career in sports, but I never want to neglect the thing that got me there to begin with was my interest as a fan. And I don't want to build products, sell things, talk about sports, and not position it in a way that is geared towards someone like me who started off as a casual fan.
I actually love that you use fan. One, I knew we talked about how like you want to own fandom.
Yeah.
But in particular, I love how the fan grounds you as well in who you are, which I think is awesome.
I'm coming up on, I guess, 5 years of primarily being an AI for sports. And I find that there's going to continue to be innovation in tech around sports. And I feel like one thing that is very easy to stray far away from is what the true fan experience is, which is actually you and me on a couch watching a game or you and I at the actual game and experiencing that or talking about it until all of the players become robots, I guess. We'll still thrive on the real in-person engagement, the banter, the conversations around sports.
You mentioned you changed. What were you going to say?
Honestly, I'm a new person since I've sat down here.
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. I got to update my LinkedIn title because I don't have one. That's the thing is I'm
about to give it to you. I'm about
so
to
weird about
this. Yeah. Look at me.
Yeah.
Adding value. All right,
Always.
Miss CY. So you only agreed to do this if you can ask me questions.
How much time do we have?
We have 10 minutes.
I really do have so many questions.
Okay, let's go. You are now the interviewer.
But first I want to start with a statement.
Yes.
If I may. But I wanted to tell you because I've been making it a point. Life is so short. And I feel sometimes I get so caught up in like messaging someone on, when you look cute on Instagram, I'm going to say, wow, love that. Congrats, whatever you're doing. But I really, really mean this when I say you have built such a thoughtful brand for yourself that for a while I actually didn't know what your day-to-day looks like, but I know what your vision is. You are so thoughtful about the vision that you hold for your role, whatever title it is or has evolved to be. And when I truly do think of culture and progress that's being made and it doesn't go stale or cookie cutter, I think of you. There's just some things I've seen recently with companies that just don't hit the mark for me. And I'm thinking like, who's advising you? Who's consulting you? And I think they need to call you for what you've done, again, to like drive impact and growth that feels relevant, timely, and never forced. And you do such a good job of that. I really mean that because, again, we've not been connected on LinkedIn. I followed you, but you are that and more on and offline. And I think that's a really, really hard thing to do. When you have a million things going on and you're juggling motherhood, work, and I'm just trying to drink enough water and survive every day. You've built a legacy that will outlive any podcast or any show that you've done or panel that you've done. And so that's really why I'm on this podcast, was to, one, tell you that, and then make sure that you know that I think it's such a hard thing to do so naturally.
Thank you.
Are you bad with compliments?
I am very bad at compliments.
Me too, but I love to give them. I do have questions and I know I don't have a ton of time to get through them, but I am so curious, like, to me, you really are always on the move. And I just wonder how you remain rooted here because this is your home. Do you feel like as global as you make yourself not make yourself, you're out and about at every sporting event that I'm at, you're out and at a better one with better seats and better access and hanging out with Obama. And I'm like, excuse me, you just have a whole level of access that I don't even know what that would be like. how do you balance that with being here in Dallas, your home's here, your children are here, but do you wish you were just hanging out with Obama every day? Because I do.
You know what I wish I had is a private jet. No, the first thing I was saying is actually a reaction to your comment, which I am really appreciative of. Alignment. I finally, because it's taken many years, I'm in my 40s, to be in alignment where what I do in my 9 to 5 and what I do in my 5 to 9 are aligned.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not an alignment meaning that I am the center of my world.
Yep.
And every spoke on this wheel is in lockstep. What I do has to align with who I am, my values, what I care about, right? You mentioned earlier on in the interview, finally doing something that like you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I operate off of alignment. It's taken many years and transitions to get to that point, but I'm a global citizen.
Yeah.
And people think I'm being snarky, but the reality is I always felt like my home was where I went to my home, meaning I've had to get up and, you know, move to Miami, move to Cincinnati, move to Minneapolis. And I wasn't a military kid, but I took myself on those journeys out of curiosity, out of a desire to say, there's a bigger world out here.
Yeah.
And so my curiosity doesn't have to stay limited to this geography. And I think that is true of how I navigate my life right now. I want to go anywhere I want to go. I have those desires. And so I built a life that enables me to have those desires because oftentimes people don't do that, right? They look at the limitations of life and say, hey, I have kids. I can't go do that. Or I have a 9 to 5, which my 9 to 5 is strenuous. I manage 21 people.
First of all,
I manage a team.
People.
It's funny. I told my team yesterday, I was like, you know, I'm an influencer after hours, right? And they were just like, yes, we know. We follow your Instagram. And I'm joking. I'm not an influencer. But the point is I embed who I am that people know. I don't have it all figured out. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because this is scary for me to do this. I'm not comfortable in these spaces often. I am introverted. We talked about that. But I pushed myself actually this time last year to say, like, you have some things to say. You talk to people often, you know, on couches like this, more people could benefit from that. And so everything I do, and even what I'm about to do after this, which is a sound bath, is in alignment with who I am. So I'm just grateful that I finally arrived there. It is hard. I do have 2 young daughters who are looking at me, watching me, you know, so I'm grateful that they actually understand who I am as well.
Yeah.
I don't try to be anything other than who I am around my daughters. They're like, Mommy, you got luggage again? Yes. Well, where are you going, Mommy?
Yeah.
Chicago. You know, so I love that I'm exposing them in that sense as well.
That's huge. So alignment helps you no matter where you are in the world or who you're hanging out with.
Alignment and knowing who is the center of your universe issue.
Yeah. There's a really super cheesy piece of art that a lot of military families have, and it's always like home is where the heart is. I don't really identify as a military kid anymore, but what you said is like home is where you are and your alignment helps support that. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I'm not attached to much.
That resonates.
I'm not attached to much. People would ask me what's my favorite movie and I couldn't tell you. I give them a goofy answer, but I just don't get attached too much. Maybe that's my problem too. I have weaknesses as well.
Shocking to know.
Thank you. This has been so insightful. We jumped right into this interview because I think we both have just been thirsty to learn more about each other. Yes. And so I'm so grateful for the space. Thank you literally for the space, KG and Cosign Studios. KG. I really appreciate you. I look forward to continuing our relationship on LinkedIn.
Mostly. Now that we're finally connected, I really look forward to our virtual relationship.
If this conversation sparks something for you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the On Brand, On Purpose podcast, share this episode, and take my free personal brand alignment assessment to get clear on how your identity, influence, and intention are showing up today. And if you're ready to build authority on your own terms, check out the Authority Builder online course. All right, y'all, have a good one and stay on brand and on purpose.